Hi everyone, welcome back to the second part of Virginia Woolf's essay, How Should One Read a Book? In the first part of this lesson, we have discussed Virginia Woolf's observations and experiences on reading. She makes some observations how to read and how we have to approach a book, such kind of things she observes there. And as well she talks about not to take any advice in reading. Readers on instinct, reasoning and conclusions are more important in reading. And she posits the libraries are not to be controlled by anyone or not to be controlled by any laws and restrictions. Such kind of restrictions will make libraries a hell. That means in library there are a lot of freedom for the reader, how to read, what to read. That kind of questions are most important for the reader, not for anyone. And where she compares reading as a complex process, and if we want to know the actual complexity of reading, the readers have to write something on their own experience, on their own impressions that they had. And she says readers don't come to the library or approach reading with a prejudiced or preconceived notions in the mind. If we approach with a preconceived notions and preconceived notions and preconceived prejudices, we cannot enjoy the text in full. And then she continues to talk about the process of reading. The process of reading takes place three steps. One is read and get impressions what we read. Second one is to pass judgment. Third one is to compare what we have read with other pieces of literature. And she says memoirs, biographies, letters are some kind of rubbish heap of literature, or there are some lesser writers, they disfigure their story, bringing a lot of facts about their into their writing. Woolf says that some writers or some books are rubbish heap of literature. This rubbish heap of literature is also placed in library. Major part of library is occupied with this rubbish heap of literature. That means the biographies, letters, memoirs, such kind of books, and they are very inferior. And she says the process of reading. There are three processes of reading, or these are known as osmotic skills in reading. Read and get impressions from reading. Told that to understand the complexity of writing, we have to write and understand the complexity of writing and understand the impalpability of words, because reading is a complex process. So she says, understand the impalpability of words when we write. And second is pass judgment and don't be a critic. Third one is to compare what we have read with other text in literature, other pieces in literature. Then she moves on to reading poetry, her observations and opinions about poetry. Poetry can ask our attention and sensation that becomes to spread in our mind after reading poetry, and remoter senses are reached. Whenever we read poetry, poetry catches our attention and as well sensation, and we get a higher kind of imagination when we read poetry. That is what she says in remoter. That is what she says in these remoter senses are reached. Yeah, higher kind of imagination the reader gets from reading a poem. You start collecting reflections and echoes through poetry, or receive impressions with utmost understanding and open your mind. When a reader reads a poem, he gets an utmost understanding of the poetry, and as well he can open his mind. Then She moves on to the details of poetry and she quotes some lines from the poems, famous poems. The impact of poetry is so hard and direct that for the moment there is no other sensation except that of the poem. When a reader reads a poem, for that moment the poem is the sensation for the reader. What profound depths we visit then. She takes that the poet through the poem takes the reader into a profound depth of sensations, depths of imagination, depths of the momentary pleasure. How certain and complete is our immersion. Immersion means that a fascination, a wonder. And then she says that our being for the moment is centered and constricted. And later she says the intensity of poetry covers an immense range of emotions. And the poem has an immense range of emotion that will take the reader into a higher kind of sensation and imagination. പോയട്രി നമ്മൾ വായിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, ഒരു പോയം വായിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ റീഡർ അത് ഏറ്റവും വലിയൊരു ഇമാജിനേഷനിലേക്ക്, ഏറ്റവും ഹൈ ലെവലായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഇമാജിനേഷനിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുപോകുമെന്നും ആ പോയം വായിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് വേരിയസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സെൻസ് ഇമോഷൻസ് നമ്മൾ ജനറേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുമെന്നും ആണ് ഇത് പറയുന്നത്. പോയറ്റ് നമ്മെ അവിടെ പിടിച്ചിരുത്തുന്നു അത് വായിച്ചു തീർക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി. അത് വായിച്ചു തീർക്കുന്നതോടൊപ്പം തന്നെ നമ്മളിൽ ഒരുപാട് ഇമോഷൻസ്, സെൻസേഷൻസ്, ഇമാജിനേഷൻ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്നു, റീഡറിൽ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്നു. And she refers to the poetic lines of force and direction of sensation in Maid's Tragedy by Beaumont and Fletcher, unwavering modulation in Lover's Melancholy by John Ford, and a meditative calm in the lines from Prelude of Wordsworth. Wordsworth wrote Prelude. Okay, we can see a meditative calm, Shanda Sundaramaya oru nature ne kurichittu parayum. And force and direction of sensation in Maid's Tragedy. And the loveliness, inexhaustible loveliness of Coleridge's poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and the splendid fantasy of Ebenezer Jones. Wood says the poetic gives us the varied art, a variety of emotion, a variety of sensation. And the poet has power to make us at once and actors and spectators. We are also the actors, we are also the characters in the poem, and we are also the spectators. The readers are the spectators in the poem as well. The poet has the power to condense, to widen, to state once and forever. The emotion the poet creates through a poem that will widen our mind. That emotion, that sensation will be forever in the mind of the reader. This mystical mesmerism of the experience itself, who reminds us the true gift of reading takes place in that incubation period wherein ephemeral impressions become integrated and manifest as deeper. After reading a poem or a poetic piece, we have to take a rest, she says. There is an incubation period in between the reading and getting the impressions for the reader. There is a gap between the two. When she says in the second process, to pass judgment, we should take some rest. That is what an incubation period. Okay, after reading we have to think. In the next slide we can see that the first process is to receive impressions with utmost understanding. Is only half of the process is reading. When we read something and when we get something, half of the reading process is over. It is only half of the process of the reading is over, and then she says that it must be completed, that process must be completed, so that we have to wait. If we are to get the whole pleasure from book by an author, we must pass judgment upon those multitudinous impressions. When we read something, we get a lot of multitudinous impressions in our mind, and we have to pass some judgment on it. We must make of these fleeting shapes one that is hard and lasting. We must make these fleeting shapes. These fleeting shapes means something that is incubating in our mind. Fleeting shapes, a lot of shapes are figuring out in our mind. That should take a shape that should be hard and lasting, but not directly. Wait for the dust of reading to settle. That is what she said. Since here there is an incubation period. After we completed reading something, then we wait. That is dust of reading to settle, or for the conflict and the questioning to die down. Walk, talk, pull the dead petals from a rose. നമ്മൾ വായിച്ചതിന് ശേഷം കുറച്ച് എവിടേക്കെങ്കിലും നടക്കുക, ആരോടെങ്കിലും ചിറ്റാറ്റ് സംസാരിക്കുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പോയിട്ട് ഗാർഡനിൽ നിന്ന് ഒരു റോസിൻ്റെ പെറ്റൽസ് പറിച്ചെടുക്കുക, ഡെഡ് പെറ്റൽസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എടുത്തു മാറ്റുക. ദെൻ ഓർ ഫോൾ എസ്ലീപ്, ടേക്ക് എ നാപ്പ്, ചെറിയൊരു ഉണ്ണി ഉറക്ക്, ടേക്ക് എ നാപ്പ്. Then suddenly, without our willing it, for it is thus that nature undertakes these transitions, there becomes a transition. The book will return to us. That means what we have read will return to our mind, but differently, in a different way. And then we can pass judgment upon what we have read. It will float to the top of the mind as a whole, what we have read. And these are the osmotic skills I told you. 3 process: start reading and receive impressions, make judgment and not criticize any author, and comparison what you read with other best works you have ever read. Comparing the readers are comparing it. Reading completes only if the 3 processes are met, and the true complexity of reading is admitted here when we complete these 3 processes. She says that we must remain as readers, not as critics. Throughout in our life, we have to remain as readers. Reader may make mistakes in passing judgment, but we can train our taste to be refined. We can train. When we pass judgment, there will be a lot of mistakes. These mistakes should be refined through training, reading, then making impressions, then passing judgment, then comparing, then again we are training like that. That the reader must be given this time. And the first process to receive impressions with utmost understanding is only half of the process is reading. Then she says it must be completed if we are to get the whole pleasure from a book by another. Then second is we must pass judgment upon these multitudinous impressions. Then we compare book with book as we compare building with building. And she says new poetry and new fiction. We cannot compare new poetry and new fiction. There should be some kind of other standards to measure, to pass judgment, to have impressions on this new poetry and new fiction. That she may be referring to the new poetry and new fiction of that time. They came out in that time in 1920s. New poetry and new fiction has to be judged in new standards. We cannot judge new poetry and new fiction with the old standards, old measures. We may be sure that the newness of new poetry and fiction is its most superficial quality, that we have only to alter slightly, not to recast the standards by which we have judged the old. We cannot how we have judged the old text with the standards. These standards cannot be used for measuring these new poetry and new fiction. She says in between, then to continue reading without the book before you, to hold one shadow, a shape against another, to have read widely enough and with enough understanding to make such comparisons alive, and illumination. That is difficult. It is still more difficult to press further and to say. It is very difficult for a reader to say not only is the book of this sort, but it is of this value. Here it fails, here it succeeds, this is bad, this is good. ഇങ്ങനെ പറയാനാണ് ഭയങ്കര ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട് എന്നാണ് ഇവർ പറയുന്നത്. ഇങ്ങനെ ഇന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് ഇത് വിജയിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, ഈ പുസ്തകം ഇന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് പരാജയമാണ്, ഇന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് ഇത് വിജയിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു, ഇന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് നല്ലതാണ്, ഇന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് ബാഡാണ്, ഇങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞ് നമുക്ക് മുമ്പോട്ട് പോകാൻ വളരെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് സ്റ്റിൽ മോർ ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് ടു പ്രസ് ഫർദർ ആൻഡ് ടു സേ. To carry out this part of reader's duty needs such an imagination. ഇങ്ങനെ നമുക്ക് പറയണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ reader needs such an imagination, insight and learning. There should be good learning. That it is hard to conceive any one mind sufficiently endowed. Impossible for the most self-confident to find more than the seed of such powers in himself. When we compare, our attitude has changed. When we compare in the third process, when we compare a book, our attitude has changed. We are no longer the friend of the writer, but his judges. In the third process, we are the judges of the writer. Then, and just as we cannot be sympathetic as friends, so as judges, we cannot be too severe. We cannot criticize severely the writer. As we are friends, we cannot be very sympathetic. Compare each book with the greatest of its kind. She says we can compare what we have read with the other books, the greatest of its kind. And it is very difficult for a reader to pass judgment. And she says, not only is this book of this sort, but it is this value. There it fails. And she says, to judge and compare a book, reader's duty needs such an imagination and insight. To read a book in such a way, she says, if to read a book as it be read calls for the rarest qualities of imagination, insight, and judgment. Literature is a very complex art, hence no one can criticize a work of art severely. Readers have to help critics with honest questions and suggestions originated from our own reading. We must remain as readers. She says, throughout in our life, we must remain as readers. Thus, the standards and judgment readers bring forward will help the writers to improve their writing. Writers' breath as their work. Writers' breath as their work means that the writers, the impressions and the opinion, the judgment of the reader will be helpful for a writer. To judge and compare a book, reader's duty needs imagination and insight. ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നോട്ട് ഓൺലി ഈസ് ദ ബുക്ക് ഓഫ് ദിസ് സോർട്ട് ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഓഫ് ദിസ് വാല്യൂ, ഹിയർ ഇറ്റ് ഫെയിൽസ്, ഹിയർ ഇറ്റ് സക്സീഡ്സ്, ദിസ് ബാഡ്, ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഗുഡ്. ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ പറയാനൊരു റീഡർക്ക് പറ്റണമെങ്കിൽ റീഡർ ഷുഡ് ഹാവ് ഓർ ഹി നീഡ്സ് സച്ച് എൻ ഇമാജിനേഷൻ ആൻഡ് ഇൻസൈറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ലേണിംഗ്. To read a book in such a way, she says, if to read a book as it be read calls for the rarest qualities of imagination, insight, and judgment. Literature is a very complex art, hence no one can criticize a work of art severely. Readers have to help the critics with honest questions and suggestions originated from our own reading. That means the reader will help the writers to improve their writing in the next work if they are very friendly, pass judgment on what the author has written. And she says we must remain as readers. Thus the standards and the judgment readers bring forward will help the writers to improve their writing should be considered. And she says that opinion of the people, opinion of the readers who reads for the love of reading should be considered by the writer. Writer has to consider the opinion of the readers. Writers should consider the reader's opinion as well as which will make a book richer, stronger, and varied. When a writer considers the reader's opinion, that will make a book richer, stronger, and varied. And she says in the last part of the essay, a book pass in review like the procession of animals in a shooting gallery. And the critic has only 1 second in which to load and aim and shoot, and may well pardoned if he make mistakes. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് ഗാലറി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്കറിയാം ഗണ്ണ് വെച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മൾ ഈ കളിക്കാനൊക്കെ പോകുന്ന സമയത്ത് അതേപോലെയാണ് ക്രിറ്റിസിസത്തിനെ വൂൾഫ് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അവിടെ ക്രിട്ടിക് ഷൂട്ടറാണ്. എന്തിനാ ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? ബുക്കിനെയാണ്. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ക്രിട്ടിസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ബുക്സിനെയാണ്. ആ സമയത്ത് അദ്ദേഹം ഒരുപാട് മിസ്റ്റേക്സ് ചിലപ്പം പറ്റാം. ക്രിട്ടിസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് അദ്ദേഹം നിരൂപണം എഴുതുന്ന സമയത്ത് തെറ്റുകൾ പറ്റാം. ആ തെറ്റുകൾ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് പുറത്തു കൊടുക്കണമെന്ന്. മേ വെൽ പാർഡൺ ഇഫ് ഹി മേക്സ് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക്. ഓക്കെ. ആനിമൽസ് ഇൻ എ പ്രൊസഷൻ, ആനിമൽസ് ഇങ്ങനെ പോകുന്നു, ആ സമയത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഓക്കെ. ഗെയിമാണ് ആനിമൽ പ്രൊസഷൻ ഇൻ ആനിമൽ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് ഗാലറി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ദ ക്രിട്ടിക് ഹാസ് ഓൺലി 1 second in which to load and aim and shoot. The critic may mistake rabbits for tigers. ഇപ്പൊ റാബിറ്റിനെയൊക്കെ ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടാവും, പക്ഷെ അത് ആർക്കും കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ടാവുക ടൈഗേഴ്സിനെയൊക്കെ. ആ സമയത്തേക്കും ഇത് പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. Eagle for barn. Here plays the importance of readers' opinion and suggestions. ഒരു ക്രിട്ടിക്ക് ഒരിക്കലും തന്നെ ക്രിറ്റിസിസം പറയുന്ന സമയത്ത് എല്ലാ ഭാഗങ്ങളും അതിൽ വന്നു കൊള്ളണമെന്നില്ല. അവിടെയാണ് റീഡറുടെ ഒപ്പീനിയനും റീഡറുടെ സജഷനും റൈറ്റർക്ക് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ സഹായകരമാവുന്നത് എന്നാണ് വൂൾഫ് പറയുന്നത്. വൂൾഫ് stresses the importance of how each individual creates different visions and reactions to literature that lead to a conclusion brought upon their own methods of interpretation. After all, this is what Virginia Woolf was willing to express in her own literature, on the rewards of reading book without discriminating or creating standards for something that involves freedom, imagination, and judgment. She concludes freedom, imagination, and judgment. The critic makes mistakes in his criticism, as missed gunfire in animal shooting gallery. The writer will go to another kind of criticism, the opinion of the people reading for the love of reading. That means the writer will consider the opinion of the reader. Woolf says this will improve the work of the author. I have some last part of the essay that I have dreamt sometimes, at least, that when the day of judgment, the final day, okay, dawns and the greatest conquerors and lawyers and statesmen come to receive their rewards, and their crowns, their laurels, their names carved indelibly upon imperishable marble. മാർബിളിൽ കൊത്തിവെക്കട്ട പേരും സ്വർണ്ണ കിരീടങ്ങളും അവരുടെ മഹത്വങ്ങളും അവരുടെ പദവികളൊക്കെ വാങ്ങാൻ വേണ്ടി ദൈവത്തിന് മുമ്പ് വരുന്ന സമയത്ത്, on final day, on the judgment day, Almighty will turn to Peter. Who is Peter? Peter is the one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ. And Almighty God will turn to Peter and will say to Peter, not without a certain envy. God will have some kind of an envy to also these readers. She says, God will look into the common man, to the readers, with some kind of an envy. When he sees, he here means God, he sees us here means the readers, the common men, us readers, coming with our books under our arms. When we go to in front of the God, there will be some books in our arms. Then look, he will say to Peter, look, these need no reward. ഇവർക്ക് ഒരു റിവാർഡിൻ്റെ ഒരു ആവശ്യമില്ല, ഒരു പ്രതിഫലത്തിൻ്റെ ആവശ്യമില്ല. We have nothing to give them here. Here we have nothing to give, because here we have nothing to give them because they have loved reading. They have loved reading. That is their reward. Reading is their reward, because their reward comes from their own reading. They got a higher imagination. They enjoyed a lot of different kinds of world through reading. That is what she says at the end. And in this essay, Virginia Woolf talks about how she views reading a book as a personal experience for everyone. She views reading as a thing of liberty and freedom, where you can escape and not be bothered by what everyone else thinks. She describes poetry and biography extensively and uses examples from other writers as well. She believes that even if we read something 100 times, we will never be able to truly criticize or understand it. And because literature is so deep and profound, in our life, throughout life, if we read a poem in 100 times, we cannot criticize a work, we cannot criticize the author. Ultimately, Woolf, an eloquent champion of the joy of reading, considers reading not a means to some intellectual end, but an intellectual end and creative reward in itself. When we read something, that is an intellectual process, and something, there is a creative reward in itself. Thanks for watching the video. I think that you have understood this is a complex essay that is very difficult to convey what she says. We have to read and understand what she says. That is my opinion.